Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
My name's Scott Redman. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, everybody. I'd like to thank Larry for a great talk. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank all the other speakers, and I'd like to thank the committee. I've just had a great weekend. I'm having a great night. The committee was kind enough, and you guys are kind enough to offer to allow me and my wife to come together this weekend and spend the weekend, and we've just had just a great time. Can I see the hands of people in their first year? Whoa, welcome to AA. Wow, how great is that? How great is that? Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're a drug addict, I'd like to welcome you to AA. If you're a dope fiend, which is somehow worse than any of us, I'd like to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous and just suggest that you catch the dreaded alcoholism. We'd like to give it to you. The infection enters through the ear, and then it infects you, and you start giving it to other people. So stick around, catch alcoholism. I'd like to welcome that new exotic group that have been filtering in AA. I'm so excited about you guys. Welcome, tweakers. Welcome. Welcome. I love you guys. You're great. You're clapping and you don't know why you're clapping. But you're looking at your hands and getting a little lost. And I love you. Love you. You stay quick for a while. Every part of your face is moving in a different direction, and I love you. They wear their clothes out from the inside. They're great. And I don't care what you are, if you're a dope Goliath or a tweaking dope Goliath bunny. I don't care what you are. Just catch that alcoholism. We'd like to give it to you. And I have a great life today. If you're new, I'm sure that thrills the crap out of you. I'm sure you're just thrilled for me. I know how much fun I was having for the people having a good time when I got here. I was just overwhelmed for them. I just was beside myself. And they'd talk about the new house and the new car, and I'd sit in my seat and I'd think, you know, maybe you'll go home tonight and maybe your house will blow up. Maybe your new family will run screaming through the street in flames. And we'll see how spiritual you are next week. We'll just see it. So welcome, welcome, new guys, welcome, and new gals. We're really, really happy you're here. And I had a long, ugly journey to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was brought up in the Bronx in New York City. Wow. I know she's here with the Witness Protection Program. I know she is. I like when I'm talking to Montana and Vito's there. I love that. Yeah, I love the prairie. It's great. I love it. Boy, we just blend right in, don't we? And my family was and is insane. They're completely out of their mind. My wife never believed me about my family until she met them. And, you know, I want to just take this second. Nancy, will you stand up for a second? I want to introduce you to my adorable wife, Nancy, who's just the cutest thing in the whole world, and I'm just absolutely nuts about her. And again, more food for joy for the newcomer that we're having. And we're married 26 years because we never wanted to get divorced at the same time. I really think that's pretty much, that's our secret. That's the Scott Redman Couples Workshop right there. Actually, I gave you the whole Scott Redman Couples Workshop right now. My idea of working on a relationship is to talk to you until you change your mind. That's the Scott Redman Couples Workshop, is to talk to you until your eyes roll back in your head and you keel over, and on the way down you go, oh, okay. That's it. So Nance never really believed me about my family, and my mom threw an engagement party for us, and my Aunt Rose came and wore her wig backwards, and it had a bun on it, so the bun was right up front. They're completely psycho. Psycho. I did not have alcoholism when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. So if you're new and you don't have alcoholism, welcome to AA. That's why I want to urge you to stick around long enough to get a diagnosis. I am not alcoholic. First of all, I'm Jewish, and Jews don't drink because it might dull the pain. And you don't want to squander any agony opportunity. My first couple of weeks in AA, one of the guys who saved my life was a guy named John F., the Sarge, and he raised his hand at a meeting one time. He said, I'm an ex-Catholic, which means I don't believe in God, and I'm therefore positive God is going to come kill my ass for feeling that way. And I said, I'm going to go sit near you. Because I understood that absolutely and completely. And my family was just crazy. I had an uncle who was one of the top 10 welterweights of the world during the 1930s. His name was Redman, professional boxer. He was fighting in Atlanta, Georgia in 1939 and was concerned about anti-Semitism, so he had his name changed to Izzy Goldberg so that no one would know he was Jewish. Old wily Izzy. And this is not, you don't brag about this. You don't go down to the bar and brag about this. I'm a moron. I'm from a long line of morons. These are my people. If you got anything for free in my family, it meant it was stolen. And I had an uncle who was a welder who used to get free bales of steel wool. Like, here's your paycheck and your complimentary bale of steel wool. And his wife took a decorating course and made throw pillows, and she filled all the throw pillows with the plentiful free steel wool, which after a while that stuff works its way through on you. So if you looked at the room, everybody was moving a little bit. The whole room was like a pulsing living organism. And it was just crazy. There was chronic institutionalization and suicide attempts, and unless you think anything has really changed a lot, a couple of years ago, I called my mom. I say, how are you? And she said, oh, I got bad news, honey. I said, what? She said, oh, your Aunt Lena's dead. I said, oh no, Mom, when? A year and a half ago. I said, what? She said, well, you know, your Aunt Phyllis is in the mental institution again, and she calls me and harasses me, so I haven't been picking up the phone. But Phyllis died a couple of weeks ago, so I started taking calls again, and they reached me to tell me Lena had died. These are the kind of communication skills that I was imbued with as a kid. And if you're new, all I've got is good news for you. Besides the fact that my family's not yours. And the good news is my family did not have one single solitary thing to do with making me an alcoholic. I'm not telling you that a lot of bad stuff didn't happen to me. It did. And I'm not telling you that I didn't have to do a lot of stuff to fix that. I did. But they didn't make me a drunk. If they had made me a drunk, then I'd be cool. Because in addition to the Judaism, another reason I was not alcoholic is I had been in psychotherapy 18 years by the time I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was going to be dead, but I was going to understand it. And I'm not putting therapy down. Therapy's great stuff. It says on page 133 of our book, if you need a doctor, go get one. I got no beef with therapy at all. I've used therapy plenty in sobriety. My colossal blunder is I was trying to treat my alcoholism with psychotherapy. Which is like showing up at a gunfight with a knife once a week and just getting these colossal ass poundings. And I was going to be dead with no Oedipal conflict, but really dead. And it was very confusing, very, very, very confusing. If my family had made me an alcoholic, the therapy would have worked. I did good work in therapy. I wouldn't have had to go. I mean, if my family had made me an alcoholic, the therapy would have worked. I wouldn't have to go to parties anymore and say, oh, no heroin for me, I'll have a Perrier. Right? I wouldn't. Could just be like the normal people. I grew up in the Bronx with this crazy family. I tried to join a gang. I was trying to get in with these guys who were drinking beer, and they would steal cars and have al fresco impromptu demo derbies in the neighborhood. There were a bunch of enterprising young men, and I was being brought into this group of guys, and a ring of guys around me. This guy, George R., was kind of bringing me into this gang, and he said, look, we just do Chevy Biscaynes and Fairlanes. That's all we do. You knock out the fly window on the column. At that time, Chevy Biscaynes and Fairlanes had off, on, and lock on the ignition. He said, just if it's on off, just take your house key, put it on, and turn it on. You're gone, man. If it's on lock, shine it, get another car. And I wanted to make my bones, so I looked around and I said, well, what if it's on? He said, then someone's in the car, you moron, and go away. We don't even want you. So I went and joined the hippies. They were across the street, and there was no test at all. No test, no paperwork, nothing. Park your car, puke, hit the floor running. And I did not want to be an alcoholic. I started drinking early on, and I have this allergy. I can't stop. So I overcame. I'm going to talk about drugs somewhat now because it's part of my story. And I really don't want to upset anybody. I'm serious. I did not come here to piss people off. And if my talk annoys you, I'm sorry. Please see Bob D at table 60. If my talk is really annoying to you, I don't want to hear about it, because I didn't call and ask, can I come and piss a lot of people off in Las Vegas? But I believe in the primary purpose of AA, and it's just part of my story. I overcame my alcohol. I didn't want to be an alcoholic. So I overcame my alcohol problem with marijuana. I'd like to welcome all the pot smokers here tonight. Not a lot of organizations does a drug get a cheer. The Lions Club doesn't go, oh, Demerol. We love diluting at the Rotary. You remember WOW, right? WOW. WOW. And right after WOW usually came what? What? Wow. What? Wow. What? What? Wow, what? Wow, what? Watching a pot smoker is like watching a dog try to run on linoleum. There's a lot of activity, but no movement. They can't get a claw in the rug, man. They just cannot get it going forward. I overcame my marijuana problem with pills. I was victorious over pills with cocaine. Cocaine is an excellent drug. It's particularly good for sex if you enjoy sex from the Neolithic period. Even Uncle Larry's laughing now, guys. I want to hear the rest of your story. I conquered cocaine with heroin. Heroin's a very dark, complicated, artistic drug. Then you cross the line and become a vomiting pig. It's just a little hop, skip, and a jump. And I drank till I didn't want to be a drunk. Alcohol was on the table every day. And I was put in therapy really, really young, and I was in my early 20s. I just turned into my 20s, and I had slammed some heroin that afternoon, and I was hitchhiking on the West Side Highway, go down from the Bronx, going down to Manhattan, and my aunt and uncle pulled over on the side of the road, and my father had had a massive stroke. He was in the hospital, and they took me to the hospital, and the curtain was already down. I was in that zone, and my father died that night, and I could not show up for him. I couldn't show up for him or my mother or my brother, and I felt like a pig, like an animal. I couldn't even go that night into his room and touch his cheek and give him a kiss and say goodbye. because my father was not taking his light into another room. He was dead. He was dying. The ice around my heart had become so thick, I had no idea of what that transition's all about. And my father was lost to me. I couldn't think about him or talk about him. I didn't even want to look at a picture of him. And I knew what I had to do. I had to stop being the guy who couldn't be there for the night, for his old man the night he died. And I knew exactly how to do that right away. Intuitively, I knew how to do it. I would just never put a needle in my arm again. I'd just drink until I didn't want to be a drunk. But as long as I didn't put a needle in my arm, I wouldn't be that guy. I'd be some other guy, you know. Shortly after that, I had a lot of dreams growing up in the Bronx. And I reached or surpassed them all by the time I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was in my early 20s. I was acting in a Broadway play, which was a dream of mine since I was a little boy growing up in New York. And one night, a new usherette with long brown hair walked in to this theater. And I didn't say hello to her. I took one look at her. I walked back into the dressing room. I got up on a chair and addressed the male members of this cast. I said, if anyone talks to the new usherette with long brown hair, I'll break all the bones in your hands and feet. And we just celebrated 26 years of marriage. So there you go. But then we began an 8-year suicide pact. And we just had a great time. We just had a great time. We had such a great time. We were living in New York in our early 20s. I was acting on Broadway. It was very exciting. One of the most misquoted and disabused lines in the Big Book of AA for me is I've heard people say, my worst day in here is better than my best day out there. No, no, no. I had a great time out there. Let's see, what do I want to do? Let's see, a pound of cocaine in an all-female jazz band or an H&I panel down at the Pokey. What am I gonna do? What the Big Book of AA actually says is, near the end of chapter 3, is I wouldn't trade my worst day in here for my best day out there because I won't trade this way of life. I won't settle for a nickel today when I could have a quarter tomorrow. I won't live like a loser anymore. I won't trade this way of life. Because of the nature of my alcoholism, the moment presents itself in a way that eclipses my life. My alcoholism goes below the horizon and stops presenting itself as a real piece of business. And I drink again. And Nancy and I had a great time. We had a great time, and we started becoming very ill from alcoholism. We just were a couple of dogs trying to run on linoleum after a while. I mean, she became very troubled. One day I came home, we had these 32-ounce tumblers, iced tea tumblers in the house, and I came home and I popped a cork on a bottle of wine, and I emptied the entire bottle of wine into this glass, and I turned around and my wife was giving me her pre-Al-Anon rat face, this one, and I said, "What?" She said, "What are you doing?" And I looked at her in the eye and I said, "I'm having a glass of wine." Can't a man have a glass of wine in his own home? Are we civilized? We just became nuttier and nuttier. We got so crazy that at one point a guy lent us his car and we sold his car. I will never forget this guy's voice on the phone as long as I live. He said, "You sold my car?" I asked you to, I lent you. That's like house sitting for someone and they come home and you're in escrow. You know, but the alcoholic life becomes the only normal one. We didn't have rent. No, really. And I turned to my wife and I said, "I am so sick of being a punk, irresponsible kid. Let's do the right thing. Let's stand on our own 2 feet. Let's sell the car." And my wife looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Let's do." I just have to tell you, I was telling a story before. It was really great. I think I was about 10 years sober, and I was talking at a meeting, and my wife was with her Al-Anon sponsor in the front row, and I shared this thing about we borrowed a car and sold it, and I saw Nancy's sponsor lean over to her and go, "You what?" My wife pointed at me. We borrowed money from everybody. Our older son, Micah, was born. And we were surrounded by friends and family. We got a ton of phone calls. There were all sorts of people around. You know, it was that great thing. He was really invited into our community, you know, surrounded by that love, you know. And 2 years and 9 months later, our son Jesse was born, and there was nobody around. No family, no phone calls. We had become completely isolated by the disease of alcoholism. And it wasn't because people didn't love us. They loved us. It hurt too much to be around us. We pressed ourselves on the people that loved us like a thumb upon a bruise. It was too hard. And Jesse was ill. He had transitive tachypnea of the heart. He had to go up to neonatal intensive care. My wife is all alone on the maternity ward. And you guys know there's no better place to be in a hospital. There's no better way to go to a hospital than the maternity ward. When stuff's okay and when stuff's not okay, there's not many places worse than the maternity ward, especially when you got nothing. You got no connection. You've got no connection to your community, to God, to a power, to love. You just don't have it. You're just scrambling, man. You're just trying to climb a greased pole every day. And we were devastated. And I was at home with Micah. He was 2 years and 9 months old, and a doctor called me that night and said, Mr. Redman, look, your wife is in extreme psychological duress. She's all alone. The baby's in an incubator. There's nobody here. There's not a flower or a balloon in the room. You got to come down here. And I said, look, I would love to, but the fact is I cannot find anybody to watch my kid. I can't. And this doctor, who I had never met before, doctor in a major metropolitan hospital, said to me, I'll tell you what, how's this? My husband's home. I'll give you our address and our phone number. You can call my husband, bring your kid to my house, and my husband will watch him for you. What an incredible act of kindness and generosity. And I said, no. I had no way to accept this woman's generosity. You know, if you're new, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about wanting to help you in AA. I urge you to allow us to help you. It's been my experience. It's not a rule. It's just my experience that the people who allow us to help them are willing to help other people. It's just been my experience. It's not, again, not a rule. Some people just can't accept help and they wait until they can, but I could not accept this woman's help that night. And then my poor kid was trapped in the house with me, racked with guilt and self-loathing. I would have done better to take Micah down to the hospital and let him sit in the lobby with a coloring book. At least he could have gotten the hell away from me. And that's the condition we were in. Except, just like Bill's story says, you know, Bill describes this horrible life. Horrible life. He's dragging his bed down to a lower floor so he doesn't pitch himself out of the window. He's opening the medicine cabinet and staring at poison, cursing himself for not being able to drink it. He's an unwanted hanger-on at places where he used to do business. He's getting a little credit for a few bottles of ale at the local delis. And then he's waiting till his wife works all day, comes home so he can steal some money for her purse. Pathetic. Pathetic, tiny, disgusting little life. And little were we to know, he says, that this was to continue for 3 more years. You know. And that's what happened to us. It was 3 more years. 3 more years, you know. We started on Broadway, and this is where we wound up. This was a good evening in the Redman home. I got into an accident, and I got cut, and I went to the hospital, and the doctor said, you know, Mr. Redman, you have high blood pressure, and you're going to have to lose weight. And I said, you know what, I'd love to. But before I go to bed every night, I drink alcohol and I smoke marijuana, so I'm not going to be able to. And the doctor said, why don't I prescribe some medication for you? And I said, what a country. He prescribed chloral hydrate for me. That's the sound people make when a baby does something cute. People just went, "Aww, chloral hydrate." It's a knockout drop. It's a Mickey. It's a fast-acting sedative. It's like getting hit in the head with a 2x4. And I love these pills. I love them. Nancy comes home. I'm eating handfuls of knockout drops, standing in the hallway, slamming my arms into the wall to keep myself awake to enjoy my knockout drop. Because you don't want to waste a perfectly good knockout drop that's covered on your HMO. To boot. So I'm eating pills, whacking body parts into the wall until I just seize, keel over. Now I'm in bed, but I can't get out of bed to go to the bathroom. I got too much Mickey in me. So now I'm incontinent like the rest of the 33-year-old men in America. So this is good morning in the Redman home. One night I got up and wet the wall instead of peeing in bed, and Nancy was excited. The boys were excited. He wet the wall. He's headed towards the bathroom. It's progress, not perfection. Tomorrow, the bathroom. God, things are really working out. I got mixed up one day. Nancy came home and I had an idea to cook some eggs, but I died in the middle of the idea. She came in and I was passed out on the kitchen floor with a pan full of raw eggs in my hand. And she kind of moved with her foot, you know, and she said, "How are you?" And I looked up at her and I said, "I am exhausted." And she went and called a doctor, a family friend of ours, and said, there's an empty vial and an empty bottle, and Scott's unconscious on the floor. And he said, "Call the paramedics. There's a blue Jew on the floor of your kitchen. Why are you calling me?" And when she tells the story, I get a little nervous at this point. She says she hung up the phone, and she thought about it. And I think she did a little cleaning. And then called another doctor for a second opinion. It seemed to be unanimous about the action to take. And when my wife tells the story, it's very moving to me, very meaningful to me, because she said, you know, when she talks about it, she says, "I figured that's it. He'll never drink again." And that was just the day my stupid wife made a dopey phone call. That wasn't my bottom. That wasn't the day that my kids could have seen me dead or dying on the floor. That wasn't the day that I just lost track. It was the day that she did this dopey, irresponsible thing and made me look bad. And the day that I got sober was not a day that she had planned on me getting sober. It wasn't a day, certainly not a day that I planned on getting sober, but a couple of months later, I crossed the line that I swore I would never cross again. You know, it's an incredible thing. Sometime before this day happened, my son Micah came to me. He was 5 years old at the time. We had a Christian family move in next to us, and the child of this Christian family would often talk about God. And Micah became curious about it, and he came to me. He was 5. And he said to me, "Dad, is there anything such as God?" And I looked into the eyes of my perfect baby boy, and I said, "No." I said, "No." I lied to him. I thought I was giving him the real existential deal, something every 5-year-old needs. So he wouldn't be played by those saps and suckers out there. And what I did was completely antithetical to what I thought I was doing. I thought I was giving him the real stuff so he wouldn't be a sucker. And what I was in fact doing was sharing with him the mushiest, weakest thinking of all. If you can stand in the face of all this immutable law, of all of this harmony, and say that this is just an aimless cipher wandering nowhere, that's a stretch. That's a much, much bigger stretch. And yet I delivered that message to my son, which I think is horrible child abuse. Horrible, on the par of beating any child. And several months after the day I was supposed to get sober, I put a needle in my arm again after 13 years. After 13 years of never crossing the line that I swore I would never cross again, I put a needle in my arm for the first time in 13 years, and my world came crashing down around me. And I called my therapist of record in my 18th year of psychotherapy. I told him what I had done. He was my first Jungian therapist, and he said to me that morning the exact same thing that Carl Jung told the guy who 12-stepped Bill Wilson. I didn't know it at the time, but I was to find it out when I read our literature, and it made me feel great. He said, "There's absolutely nothing that can be done for you." I said, "What?" Therapy was my God. It was the only thing that I depended on to try to change the course of this insane life I was leading. I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "I can't help you." What an incredibly humble thing to do. What if he had said, "Come on up and let's talk about it"? man, there was nothing left to talk about. I had talked about it for 18 years and I was still dying. It's an incredibly humble thing for a doctor to do. He said, look, all I can tell you is we either attend a meeting of Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, or we have you institutionalized. Now, why I didn't go to the institution, couldn't tell you, don't know. Most other days, I would have gladly gone to the institution. First of all, that's an uninterrupted source of narcotics. That's as good as dental surgery, for God's sake. And I'd be with my people, colorful and adventurous people, my people. Why I went to that AA meeting, I don't know. I went to a meeting, I came home, I poured myself a glass of wine, and my wife said, honey, are you supposed to drink in AA? And I said, of course you can drink in AA, sweetheart. You have a glass of wine, they're civilized people. You just can't get drunk. They're big on they don't want you to get drunk. So the next day I went to AA and I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I put my best clothes on. I got a bad check to write you. And I went to get on the mailing list. I swear that's what I thought I was doing. I walked in. I went to a 7 a.m. meeting in the San Fernando Valley at a place called Unit A, next to a Polynesian-themed restaurant called the Tonga Hut. Oh my God, I think if Satan is on earth, he is in Polynesian-themed bars with those big wooden heads and those dark rooms and flaming poo-poo platters. And I just, and this Unit A was right next to it. I walked into this meeting, 7 a.m. I had been up since 5. I walked into this room, I took one look around, and I said, oh my God, Alcoholics Anonymous. How did I wind up in Alcoholics Anonymous? How lame is this? This is beyond lame. This is beyond church, beyond synagogue. This is some plateau of lameness I never even imagined was available to me. Alcoholics Anonymous. It was unbelievable. The room looked like it was the product of like 200 years of inbreeding. It was just extraordinary. There were like identical twins carving their initials on each other's feet in the back of the room, you know? And everything was a miracle. I'm a miracle. You're a miracle. The coffee and furniture are miracles too. And then the guy, the AA unsolicited information guy, he came up to me at the end of the meeting. You know him. He's got one tooth with a cavity in it, right? He's wearing a belt buckle large enough to serve an entire fish on. Do I want what you've got? No. No, but thanks for spitting on me. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Clem. Say hello to Martha for me. Do I come with my own bib overalls next week? Am I issued a pair? When do we hook a rug? I know the arts and crafts are going to start any minute. And I'm waiting for the Jew hunt. I know that's going to come, right? Any minute, right? Come on, Jaime, strap these antlers on. Knock his beanie off, poke him with a stick. Always wanted to run a big buck Jew. He's fun. Knock his beanie off when he bends over to pick it up, push him over. I hated everything about Alcoholics Anonymous. I went back there every day for a year. And I stuck, and I'll tell you, if you're new, I think the reason why I stayed, because I didn't like it, was I was out of plans. If you're new here, I pray for you that you are out of plans. If you're new and you have a plan, it's probably a beaut. Don't use your plan. Grab one of us after the meeting and tell us your plan. We want to know your plan. My favorite newcomer plan to this day, and I swear I still see it, it's the one more dope deal to set myself up financially for sobriety plan. Mickey's from Southern Texas. She sees it a lot down there. Closer you get to El Paso. And I stuck around. I stuck around for 6 months and enjoyed the gift of step none. My wife reached out to the Al-Anon family groups and got a sponsor, an incredible sponsor who's still a sponsor today, with a husband who I just adore. And we were in terrible condition. Our sons were injured and disrupted to a really terrible extent. You guys told Nancy and I to, not to get involved in our first year, and we didn't. We just stayed the hell away from each other. And we were insane. I mean, we had all these rules in our house. Our kids couldn't curse, couldn't eat sugar, and couldn't watch TV. So Nancy would give them granola and then put them in the car with me, Dr. Death. And say, hope you live, bye boys. Don't curse, don't watch TV, just die. Rules, you gotta have rules, And Nancy would bring the boys over to Ruby's house. Ruby would give them a big bowl of M&Ms, sit them down in front of the TV, turn on the Love Boat, and say, if you say thanks, you get more shit. And the boys would go, oh my God, she cursed. Oh. I'm being carted out of the house on ODs, right, by the paramedics, but I didn't use bad language. We used to go to their house, they'd have these huge parties over there, and I'd stay glued against the wall, just feeling radioactive, like I had no skin, just no top layer of skin. And I'd look around and say, this is great for them, I'm really happy. Which is, whenever a newcomer says to me usually, I'm really happy for you, they're usually saying, I'm happy for you, please go away, leave me alone, this is not gonna happen for me, I'm happy for you. And the kind of bully I am, you see, our big book talks about it. It was terrible when I read this in our book. It says when I'm being nice or when I'm being mean, it's all about getting my way. And that's the kind of bully I am. I'm such a nice guy. I'm a sterling human being, So when the unsolicited AA information guy or any of those guys would come up to me, I wouldn't argue with them. I'd just grin and nod and just pray that their face burst into flame, They just go up in a column of smoke. I'm here. I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's done. It's over. Isn't that bad enough? Now I have to listen to you? I don't think so. And it was really amazing being around this sober, loving family. And I stuck around here for 6 months, and I knew I was going to drink. I had seen the AA drill hundreds of times in the 6 months I had been here, and I saw people either did the work or they didn't do the work. And the guys that didn't do the work either stayed in AA and became people I didn't want to be like, or they went out and they drank. It was really clear to me. So I asked the guy to sponsor me. Great guy, wasn't afraid of being an AA goody-goody. If you're concerned about being an AA automaton, or if you're concerned about having your brain washed, maybe it could use a scrubbing. Could be. Let AA automaton be a lofty goal for you. And I asked this guy to sponsor me, and he asked me to his house, and he read chapter 5 to me and took me through the first 2 steps, and we got on our knees and said a prayer, which I felt was embarrassing and unnecessary, but I did it anyway. And then we went back, and he showed me how to do a 4th step from the big book of AA. And I did my inventory, and in 3 months I went back and I read it to him at 9 months of sobriety, and I stopped feeling like I was stealing someone's chair here. And I read it to him, and I did step 6 and 7 for the first time, which had become sort of the centerpiece, the linchpin of my relationship with God. And then it came time to do my 8-step list. And I try to share this anytime I talk, because it's simply the best reading of step 8 I've ever heard. And I heard it at my old home group when I was just a month or 2 sober, and it was from a guy who I've never seen since then. I hope I never forget him. His name was Nino. He had a heavy New York accent. He had never read chapter 5 before. He was at this meeting with hospital plastic on. He was there with a hospital group, had a heavy New York accent, and he read chapter 5 for the first time in front of this group of guys. And he got up to step 8 and he read, made a list of all those we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Jesus Christ. And he looked out into the room as if to say, have you seen this? Do you know what's in here, man? It was the purest reading of the step I have ever heard. First of all, it's the only thing I saw. I didn't see anything else on the steps. Not those people, not that money, not the car. I would not have taken that much money if I knew I had to give it back. You think I'm an idiot? You know, if you're new, don't worry about it. It's 8 steps from where you are anyway, for God's sake. And you know what? 8's really not the annoying one. It's 9. 9's really the annoying one. So I wrote up my 8-step list, and I didn't know what the heck I was going to do about it. My dad was down there, and he was dead. My wife and my kids were down there, and I didn't know what I was going to do. What was I going to do? Say I'm sorry? Sit down with my wife and say, gee, hun, sorry about this 8-year journey to Hades. Okay? I didn't know what I could possibly do. I was blessed with a sponsor who refused to play God with me, wouldn't play God. He said to me when I asked him to sponsor me, he said, look, I'll sponsor you, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I will walk closer to God with you. I will work the steps with you. We'll go to the book. That was written by 100 drunks. You and I are 1 drunk. He wouldn't play God with me. He wouldn't boss me around. He said, I will be as involved in your life as you want me to be if you allow yourself to be sponsored, but I ain't kicking any doors open. You know, you need somebody to kick your ass? Thanks for playing. I'm not the guy. Go get a different guy. I'm not saying that's the bad way. It's just not my way. And I flourished under his guidance. I flourished it. I have found personally that when I experience the scalpel of truth, when it's applied with the anesthetic of love, that it's very, very helpful to me. Very helpful to me. When I came in, there were certain guys who were saying, shut up, you're an idiot, you're a moron, sit down. And I went, welcome home. It was not helpful to me. And I know some people need that and want it and invite it, and I know some people don't. I got no beef with each one. I know what's happened for me. And one of the things he did for me is he refused to tell me how to make amends. He didn't say, well, do ABC with your kids, do ABC with your wife, go to the grave and write a letter to your dad. Because I tried that and it didn't work. I didn't go to the grave. I tried other things I had heard people do and it didn't work. You know why? That wasn't the path to me to get to my higher power. There's nothing wrong with that. Guys I sponsor do that stuff. It didn't work for me, much to my chagrin, because I was concerned I'd be saddled with this for the rest of my life. Don said to me, Scott, do your job in AA, man. Do your job, see what happens. You like what I'm doing, come do it with me. My first commitment in Alcoholics Anonymous was to go to central office once a month and watch guys answer phones. That's what I did, that's what the guys had me do. I was a secretary at 6 months. I did chairs. And then at a year of sobriety, I took the commitment at central office and kept it with the same guy once a month for 6 years. Those were the guys who I hung out with. And Nancy and I, we tried to make a beginning. We were just destroyed. I mean, we were just broken, you know? And, my whole life I've stood next to guys 10 years younger than me and said, I wonder what it's like to be a grown man. What a crappy way to live. You're $1 short and a day late every day. You're never in your life, and I never knew why. I never knew why. It's because I wasn't acting like a grown man. So I'm resentful at my wife, because what my sponsor did was he said, take your inventory, address it as your spiritual task, see what happens. I'm resentful at my wife for telling me I'm a pig. I'm resentful at myself for being a pig. Why? Is she telling me I'm a pig? I don't clean up. What are the defects of character? I'm a pig. Well, let's be a little nicer. I'm sloppy. I'm irresponsible. I'm stubborn. I have low self-esteem. I'm grandiose. I'm a bully. I'm a blackmailer. I'm playing God, and I'm not trusting in God. Besides that, I'm fine. So I started cleaning up, or supporting her cleaning up. I'm still not really good at it, but I started doing a few things, making a bed now and again, and kind of pitching in where I could. I started feeling like a grown man. I started bringing the money home. I started doing stuff that grown-ups do. I don't know how to clean up. I don't like to clean up. I think somewhere in the back of my twisted brain that a certain amount of housework should equal a certain amount of sex. That's what's in my head. I think there should be conversion tables on the back of cleaning products of housework to sex. Every time I share that, there's a new guy that's going, I smell marketing. And I realized I had to, whatever I did, I had to do it for God. I had to clean the house for God. Well, I wish you had told me that my first week here. If this works out, you'll clean your house for God. I had terrible resentments against myself for injuring my sons, and my sons were in bad shape. They were very disrupted. They were very scared. They were functioning on a not a good level amidst their peers. Jesse was 3. He was so distracted. He was playing a war game that he couldn't get out of. He started pretending he was a robot and couldn't stop. And Micah was reading and writing years below his grade level. His small motor skills were screwed up, and I didn't know it was alcoholism. There was nothing organically wrong with either one of them. They were so scared, so disrupted by being scared. I hadn't read There's a Solution yet. I hadn't read about the warped lives of blameless wives and children. I didn't know what alcoholism was capable of doing. And when I started working that 9th step, I had to do something very scary and very embarrassing. I had to go into the boys' school and sit down with the teachers and say, you know what? My kid is troubled because he's been living with me, and I've been very ill, and something's happened in our family. We're trying to make a new beginning. Can you help us? Not once did anyone say no to us. The school said, yeah, sure, let's test the boys. Let's see what's going on. You know? I became I wound up in my kid's 2nd grade class teaching a reading group. That's what I was told. That's not what I was told to do. That's what I was instructed to do by following my sponsor's direction and addressing my inventory. And you know, that was really hard. My MO was to send the kid into school and let him take the bullet. And the boys got tested, and yeah, they needed help, and they got the special ed, and they said, you know, let's get them in big motor stuff. Maybe that'll help the small motor stuff. Let's get them into music, and let's get them into sports. So started doing the right thing for the first time. I started spending a few booze bucks and buying the boys a baseball mitt and registering them for Little League, and you know, just doing really simple stuff, buying them the jeans they want. I'm not talking about a lot of money, just so they can help be part of, to be included, so they're not suffering from that alcoholic leprosy of being separated all the time and special and other than, and there's a problem. There's always a problem. If you get in between me and the drink, you will vanish, or you will become something less than human, but I will get to the drink. You will either become paper mache or you will evaporate. And how much disappearing can a baby bear before they believe what you're teaching them, which is they don't exist? The children in our house tended to either become pointlessly aggressive en route to a goal that never got achieved, or they just threw the towel in and said, what the hell is the use? If you take a look at the 2nd and 3rd chapters of our book, that's the template. That's the model for alcoholic thinking. How did it happen again? I'll stop after the 11th drink. I think it says 6th. I love 11. What's the use anyhow? And that's what started happening with the boys, and we got them in a Little League, and you know, they played for a couple of years, and I went to my first Little League game, and Nancy came over to the game, and there's the boy, everybody, like all the parents in the stands, and there's me alone in the sun, pissed off, just psycho, just in the sun, alone, you know, going up and down 3 hat sizes, just nuts, you know. I'm here, I'm doing my job, I'm here. The kids were thrilled to see me, you know. Look, Mr. Redman's gonna blow up, man, look at that. Just nuts. It took me a couple of years for the voices to diminish in volume and number, for me to just go with the people, just be with the people in the stands, just be at my sobriety station. And Jesse played for a couple of years and received what I believe is one of the great compliments any human being can receive in this life. He was intentionally walked. If you're not a baseball fan, it just doesn't get much better than that. It means they're scared of you and they want to get to the weenie behind you. And it's a great honor. And he didn't want to jump up and down. He can't be a geek, you know, just laid the bat down, trotted up the first baseline, and on the way up the first baseline, he turned to me at my sobriety station, and he just hit me with a little stuff, you don't want to be lame, it's the old man, not too much, don't spoil him. And he got up to the first base, and I could have missed the whole thing. I'm not telling you Jesse got intentionally walked because I'm sober. I'm telling you I was there because I was sober. That's why I was there. I was there because I was sober. That was my demonstration, you know? And I've been with enough guys who are drunk again on their kid's birthday, and I tell them about the day that my kid got walked because I was there. I don't feel guilty at my son's birthday. There were an incredible amount of resentments against myself for behavior on my children's birthday. My children have received 17 appropriate birthday gifts on the day of their birthday that they have wanted. Not once in 17 years have they received the day after radioactive guilt gift from the only place that would take a hot check from me. Here's some drywall, boys. Oh, the kids are loving the drywall. It's Pokemon drywall. I've exercised the birthday muscle 17 times. You know, if you're new here, I will tell you, and this is just my 2 cents, I am not as close to my next drink as you are. You are a lot closer to your next drink than I am. I only have till 12 o'clock like you, but my not drinking muscle is a lot stronger than yours. And your drinking muscle is a lot stronger than mine, because we've both been in the gym. And I'm not saying that I'm cured. I'm not a recovered alcoholic. All I've got is till 12 o'clock tonight. But I'm not going to patronize you by telling you that I am as close to my next drink as you are. I might feel a lot safer than you do, because I've been doing a few simple things and following a few simple people. At any rate, they said get the boys into music maybe, and Jeff played drums. So we didn't have any dough. We were both broke at the time, and I went and got him a drum pad, which was like 16, 17 bucks. It's a piece of wood with a piece of rubber and a couple of sticks. And it was huge, because my son asked me for something, and I got the thing that he asked me for. And I gave it to him, and I went back to the home group, and I told the guys. And I'll tell you why I told them. Because they wanted to know. They were really interested in my life. They were really rooting for our family. And I was really proud of it. And within 2 weeks, the AA drum set showed up at our house. There were like a lot of burnt out drummers in our group at that time. And guys are showing up with these Megadeth drums, you know, dude. And Jesse had a drum set that was so big, he sat behind it and we couldn't see him. Literally, he would disappear. 1, 2, 3, 4. He did this tiny little voice behind it. And a couple of years ago, our sons played the House of Blues on Sunset Strip in LA. They did. They burnt the dump down. Burn it down. Full house, elbow to elbow, 800, 900 kids playing hip hop music. The boys up there poised, gorgeous, beautiful. And over to the side, this group of weeping middle-aged alcoholics. And the kids are kind of going, what's with the crying old people, man? What's that? Usually they bring backup singers. These guys bring, and they look like they've been around the block, you know. And that's their AA and Al-Anon uncles and aunts that have been following them around all this time. So we really made a beginning as a family. We really started moving forward. And Nancy and I had tremendous difficulty coming together and not taking things personally. And really being able to try to, you know, I tried to show my wife a fraction of the empathy and love that I would show a new person in Alcoholics Anonymous. And my sponsor would tell me, you know, bring up this thing. He would talk about praying with his wife, and I thought that was nice for him. And I would pray with a known puppy strangling felon in 2 seconds, right? Guy gets out, he's a puppy strangler. We're in a public place. You want to take the third step? Hit your knees. We're there because I'm with God. I'm a man of God, you know. But pray with my wife, unnecessary and embarrassing. And we really had a tough time for a long time, and we'd come together and fall apart and come together and fall apart. We went to therapy, worked out some great tools, then we'd come home and throw a Buick at each other, and we were missing that third piece, that spiritual piece. And when we started holding hands and saying, Pop, can you help us? Can you just help us have a sense of humor and stop taking things personally. Stop taking everything personally. Now, when I'm new, I think newcomers, you'll pardon my language, are shit magnets. Any crap there is in the universe just seems to find them. It just, that's the way it works. And when I was new, it just seemed that anything bad just landed on me somehow, or I'd follow it around to make sure I was under it or something. And, and that's the way it was for me in my marriage, you know? And when we started putting that component in, and it's something we've relied on over the years, when things get really tough for us, we go back. We go back to that touchstone, and it's really been very helpful and very meaningful for us. We got really whacked in the Northridge earthquake, which I'm sure a lot of you guys remember or heard of some years ago. Our house got really badly busted up, and I got a physical injury. It was really bad. And Nancy claims that I left a footprint on her forehead getting out of bed. I don't remember it quite that way. Shortly after the quake, we were at an AA convention out of town, and an LA expatriate walked up to me at this AA function, a woman who had lived in LA for a while, and she said to me, "I'm so glad God got us out of LA before the quake." And I said, "Oh, so he likes you. He likes you, but we're crap, but he likes you. This is great." And she said to me, "I guess he just felt you had some lessons to learn." I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I can't stay sober in that world for 10 minutes. If I got a God up there saying, get him, get the Redman boy, get him. No evacuation plan for you, Jew boy, get him. Get him, turn his wife to salt, put a finger in his eye, kill his goat, get him. Get him, smote his ass, smote him. Smote anyone he talks to, smote them all. I had been introduced to an Old Testament God I would not be caught in a dark alley with. This guy got you, and I can't live in a world where God is going, let's see, let's key your car. It's boils for you, and I think you're due for a rash, don't you think? I just can't live in that world. My God expects me to do my job in Alcoholics Anonymous no matter what my job is. My God expects me to do my job in AA if it's to show a guy how to have a loving, sober marriage or to have a sober divorce. My God's not appointing the divorces. My God expects me to do my job if it's to show a guy how to live in the house on the hill or in a refrigerator box. My God is not putting people there. That's just my God. One of the guys I sponsor called, he's trying to sell a house. He says, "I am in real estate hell." I said, "Actually, no, you're not. Real estate hell is fighting with somebody over who's gonna sleep in the refrigerator box. You beat the crap out of the guy, you win, you get in the refrigerator box, and then you hear rain on the refrigerator box. That's actually real estate hell. You're shy of that. You're in real estate discomfort. Hell for me is working all day for a shot and knocking the spoon over. That's hell. Anything shy of that is shy of hell for me." And it's been really important for me. That's really been an important understanding that I've had of my higher power. At about a year of sobriety, I was sort of becoming a spiritual Goliath. I was starting to sponsor a lot of people. And I had an overture made to me to direct a situation comedy. And I thought that if I had gotten this job directing this situation comedy, that it would really benefit the guys I sponsor. Because they'd see me prospering. It would be so good for them, you know, good a good demonstration of the program. And I didn't get the job, and I almost drank. And I went to my sponsor, and I said, I told him what I'd done. I was humiliated, and he said to me, "Well, I guess you have the show business God." And I said, "What?" He said, "Well, what keeps you sober?" I said, "God." He said, "Okay, God keeps you sober, and you didn't get a show business job and you almost drank, so I guess you have the show business God, and he has abandoned you utterly." When I came into AA, I heard God getting people into relationships, God getting people jobs, God getting people parking spaces. Oh no, not the parking space, God, not the parking space, God. You know, if you got a parking space, God, He gives you space, pass it on. No. He said, you know, you got to sit down and do that 10-step. I'm resentful at Scott for almost drinking. I'm resentful at that company for not giving me the job. When you do 6 and 7 today, humbly ask him to remove these, humbly ask him to remove these shortcomings. Humbly isn't, take him if you can, big guy. Humbly isn't, take him, you rotten. Humbly is, Pop, I can't bear this anymore. Can you please help me? I'm done. Please. When I drew close to him, he revealed himself to me. This is how I draw close to him. Please, please remove this shame, this not living in today, this playing God, this ingratitude. Please. I will do anything. Take show business. I'm done. You got it, babe. I don't care what I do for a living. I will do anything for a living that you want me to do. Just keep me sober. That was my prayer in 6 and 7 that day. Within 3 months, I was working as a cook on a catering truck. I looked up to God and I said, I did not mean this. We've had a grotesque misunderstanding. This wasn't even on the list. What were you thinking? Now, in LA, when they make a TV show or a movie, they hire a caterer, and you follow the company around and you make food for them, and it's a great job. It's Teamster dough, which is kind of like breaking a racketeering law anyway. But you're on a vehicle on a movie set, and it's great dough. It's the best paying cooking job I've ever had, but I'm Scott Redman. And the first movie that I catered, the executive producer and star was a guy who I had worked with in the business. And he came up to the truck that first morning, and he stuck his head on the truck, and he said, "Can I have a burrito, Scott?" And I said, "What's happening, babe?" And he said, "Is this your truck?" I said, "No, but it's my spatula." I called my sponsor and I said, "Oh, we're getting the gift now. Oh, man. This is so beautiful. This sobriety thing is just so beautiful." And Don said to me, "Sounds like you've got a resentment." Boy, I guess you got to go to the sponsor school for that. I'm resentful at Scott for working on a kitchen truck. It affects my self-esteem, pocketbook ambition, personal relationships, and sex. A 5-bagger for sure. Resentment's no big deal. It's just the source of all spiritual illness, the great destroyer of all alcoholics. It'll cut you off from the sunlight of the spirit, drag your ass out, and kill you dead. But don't be alarmed. Work a step a year. You don't hear that gem a lot anymore, do you? I'm going to die. You see, because I don't just hate stuff. I don't just hate things. I hate things in a way where when I wake up, I water my hatred and care for it like a little flower. I make sure that my hatred's okay. The worst thing is when I forget to hate something. When a guy goes, "Hi," and I go, "Hi, oh, I hate him. Why did I do that? Why did I do that?" Now I've got to redouble my hatred efforts. I've got to double my snubbing and glowing. You know, it's terrible, terrible. I hate things in a way that when my head hits the pillow, it becomes a rotisserie. It eats my brain and my heart and turns my life black and throws me out of my own life. I'm gonna die. This is a life-ending spiritual malady. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I've gotta do something. I've gotta look at it from a completely different point of view. What is it in me? Blue skies. God's got a magic wand. He comes and touches me on the head. What is it in me that if God would remove the resentment against Scott Redman for working on the kitchen truck would be gone? I'm ungrateful. I'm working. Guys get sober, they don't work. I'm ashamed. I'm not living in today. I am going to stay here and die in a pool of my own urine. You know, that's the way it'll be. Poor and broke and a loser. I'm playing God. Things aren't going according to the Scott Redman program, a fabulous program. I'm in fear of financial insecurity. And then I got to go to Pop, and I got to say, Pop, please help me. Please help me to give them a dime for their nickel. Help me to show up. Help me to put together a few bucks to buy my kid a baseball mitt. Help me get the rubber on the road. Help me, please. And just like my kids and the school, no one ever said no. God never said no. The people who I hung out with in Alcoholics Anonymous never said no. I started listening to people sharing. And the people shared about how pissed off they were all the time. I didn't go to them for love. The people who said, I don't know anything, I didn't ask them anything. I stopped going to drowning people and asking for swimming lessons, and when all they said was glub, 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 get pissed off. I stopped. It was great. A completely different concept for me. And I became a good cook, and I went back to my home group, and I bring back a new tale of humiliation every week. I wound up serving people who had been my assistant directors and stage managers on shows that I had directed, actors that I had directed in TV shows, and I'd come back and tell the guys, and they go, oh! And I was able to help some guys who felt some people who felt they had fallen from a height when they came into AA. They hadn't received the top rank in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is child of God. And once you attain that rank, there ain't no place to fall from. I had a friend named Paul who felt he had fallen from a height when he came to AA, and he used to say this prayer. He'd say, Pop, please help me. I'm willing to do anything for a living. Just keep me sober, but please don't let it be as bad as what you did to Scott. And then to top it off, on my inventory was a kid in my neighborhood named Mark. And Mark used to wake up in the morning and say, where's Scott Redman? I'm going to kick his ass. He used to kick my ass. Humiliated me at our first spin the bottle parties. There was 40 resentments against this guy. This is in the Bronx. So I'm in AA, and one of the guys from the sitcom that I didn't get the job with, and I almost drank, one of those guys comes into AA, sees me there, says, geez, Scott, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm going, oh, great, I get to help this guy now. He's still acting in that show. I would have liked the show. And I talked to my sponsor. He says, what a great demonstration you can make now. He comes into my house so I can show him how to do the work. And he says, geez, I'm sorry I'm late. Our new director, Mark, is teaching an acting class. He helped me do a guest spot, so that's why I'm late. And I'm going, don't you have anything else to do? This is unbelievable, but it was hysterical. It was just so funny. So I cooked for about 3 years, and my kids never really gave much of a crap if I was a director or a writer. Jesse asked me to teach him how to cook. We just cooked an incredible Thanksgiving meal. When my sons are away from home, they call me and have me talk them through sauces. It's still something that we do together. That was the thing that brought us together, And I cooked for about 3 years and really did learn how to give them a dime for their nickel. And at the end of this 3-year period, I had an overture made to me by a big New York PR company called Ketchum Public Relations for a big comedy writing job. And I did a videotape for them, and you know what? I thought, this will really benefit my sponsees. If I get this job, come on, they've seen me suffer, and now they're going to see me prosper thusly. And I went cuckoo. I went cuckoo before I even found out if I had the job. My brain blew up. I had to write about it. I had to pray about it. I released it. A couple of weeks later, I get a call from Ketchum that I did not get the job, and I'm cool with it. Shortly after that, I get a call from my catering company asking me to go to Lake Arrowhead and cater some commercials in the mountains above LA. So I get in the truck and I get up there and I grab the call sheet, which is a piece of paper that gives you all the info about the shoot. And I see that the commercials are for Ketchum Public Relations. I'm feeding them now. Now I'm feeding them. I go home and I call my sponsor, and the funny thing is, before this happened, is I look down at the end of the truck, and there's a guy videotaping me. I said, what are you doing? He said, oh, we're taping the making of the commercial. He's taping my humiliation. So they send the tape back to New York, and the guys in New York go, is that Scott Redman with the meatloaf? Oh my God, that poor son of a bitch. So I get home and I call my sponsor and I said, oh, we're getting the gift now. Oh. It's a miracle. It's just a big miracle. He said to me, I guess God had enough writers, he needed a few cooks today. Then he said, you know, Scott, you told God you wanted to work for Ketchum, and you forgot to tell him what you wanted to do. God, I get a kick out of myself. And I just hosed down Uncle Larry. You don't get to do that very often. Yeah, this looks real good to the newcomer, I'm telling you. Yeah, the speakers. You know, adult diapers would have kept me out there a couple more years. Glad they didn't come out with those till recently. I have been blessed with passing on the message my sponsor gave to me, which was about not playing God with men. I want to tell you a story about my friend Phil. I had sponsored Phil for a while. He was an extraordinary guy, working guy, worked as a waiter. When I met him, he was sleeping on the floor of his crack dealer's apartment. He was being threatened by the INS to be thrown out of the States, and he was in really bad shape. And I met him, and he started working the steps and getting closer to God, and he was sober a couple of years, and he came to me and he said, you know, I met a woman about 2 months ago. She's pregnant, and we want to get married and have this baby. What do you think? And I took a deep breath, and I did what my sponsor had been doing for me for years. I left myself out of the equation. And I turned to Phil, and I don't mean to offend anybody. Again, I just did what I was taught in AA. I said, Philip, if you want you want to marry this woman, and I'll be your best man if you like me to, and if you want to get an abortion, I'll lend you the money and I'll drive you down there. I'll do whatever you want me to do to help you. Whatever you want me to do. And he said, well, I want you to be the best man. And he married this woman, and they had this baby, and our home group was really excited for him. He was a guy they had really seen Alcoholics Anonymous pry his jaws open and breathe life back into him. And they were so excited and following the pregnancy and stuff, and they had the baby, and the baby was incredibly sick. She was teetering on the edge of death. She came out, her lungs weren't working. She had to be placed on something called an ECMO machine, which, if you don't know about it, is one of the most invasive things that can happen to an infant. They go into the heart, they take the blood out of the baby, put oxygen in it, and put it back into the body because the lungs won't do it. There's not a whole lot of worse stuff that can happen. And we went back to the home group that night. This guy's a working guy. He doesn't have any money. And we took a seventh tradition for Phil's family, and the guys threw $700 in the basket because that's what Alcoholics Anonymous does. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous does. And not because it was Phil, it's because it's what you do. And you know, if a baby's in neonatal intensive care, they only let family members in. So, you know, so everybody who came in said, I'm a cousin, I'm a nephew, big Ethiopian men, Japanese women, overweight Jews, just everybody's, and you know, the nurses after a while just went, yeah, don't stop to lie, just go. And the AA army showed up, you know? And we didn't pray for the baby to live. We prayed for God to present God in the way that he was going to present himself for this family. Because a little baby, a girl, I hope I'll never forget her name, named Rachel Wang, who sat right next to Cassidy Rowland, Phil's baby, she died. I refuse to believe that God loved Cassidy more than Rachel. I won't live in that world. That's just what happens. I got to show up. I got to be in AA. I got to demonstrate this thing because I don't drink. And I want to tell you, if you're new, this is all about, for me, not drinking. That's what it's all about. Without that miracle, no other miracle is possible. It's not. I pray for you. You never get on the advanced course. I pray for you. Now, I've had do a lot of stuff to not drink. I don't want to be sober and suffering. I don't want to be a guy with 10, 15, 20 years who wants to just kill himself. I don't want to be a member of the Frozen Chosen. I won't do that. That's not why I'm here. I want to have a big, sexy, robust sobriety. I want the whole thing. What a shock. And then the call went out for blood. You know, most of us can't give blood because we got fresh ink on us, so we're ex-hypes. But we go down just so they can tell us we can't get blood, you know, just so we can get pissed off. Take my blood. We won't take your blood. Why won't you take my blood? And 2 weeks after Phil was home with the baby, the hospital called him and said, you better tell them to stop. They just keep coming with blood. They're like dropping it off in jars, you know? They're like, they keep pouring it here with blood. Because that's what we do. That's what we do. And, you know, Phil pulled me aside about a year later and he said to me, you know, when you told me that you would support me in whatever I did, I didn't believe you, but you were there every day, all 16 days the baby was in the hospital, and I believe you. You believe the demonstration. Why was I at the hospital? Because when I've made amends to my father, when I'm in a hospital and I'm there doing God's work, I feel the presence of my father, who I couldn't show up the night that he died, more powerfully than I ever feel it. I was there for me. I was there for me to feel Davy Redman in my life, because I couldn't kiss him that night, but I could kiss Cassidy. I could hold that baby and kiss her. I could kiss Phil, you know? And I know that that thing for my father is relieved. It's relieved of me, you know? And you know what? I no longer ferociously protect my agony. I don't do it. That's what I used to do, and that's what I unfortunately see, you know? It's something symptomatic of being new in AA. You know, you've been in agony for so long, you've been suffering for so long. Without that suffering and without your agony, what's left? If you're new, I want to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous. I want to, for me, give you the good news and the bad news. The good news is that our problem mainly rests in our mind. There's no text about recovery from a fatal illness besides the big book of AA that contains the sentence, we absolutely insist on enjoying life. There's no book about cholera that says cholera is a hoot. You're gonna love it. You'll meet other people with cholera, and then you'll meet people who just caught cholera. It just doesn't get any better than that. My sponsor used to say something I just loved. It's so true. He used to say that Alcoholics Anonymous was the only recovery from a fatal illness that he knew of that left the sufferer in better condition than they were in before they contracted the disease. How gorgeous is that? How incredibly true that is. The bad news is our problem mainly rests in our mind. A number of years ago, I was at a meeting and I met a new guy, and he called me when I got home and he talked to me for an hour, and I said, 4 times so he'd know I wasn't dead. And at the end of the hour, he said to me, God, I feel so alone. And I said to him, what are you talking about? I just listened to you for an hour without interrupting you. I hardly even know you. What do you mean you feel alone? And he said, in his discussion with me, he told me he had been stalking several women and he had restraining orders taken out against him, but it's all different. He's 2 weeks sober and it's all different now. And he said, well, I mean, I don't have a woman. And I said to him, what exactly would you be bringing to a relationship right now besides stalking skills? What are you bringing to the party right now? People 2 weeks into remission from leukemia are not having dating problems. Alcoholics are, because our problem mainly rests in our mind. Years ago, Nancy knew I was talking to a new guy, and she's walking through our room, and she hears me say into the phone, let's say the aliens are coming. Well, she stopped short. She ain't missing a word of this. I said, look, dude, I am not telling you the aliens aren't coming. That's an outside interest. I have no opinion on it. Question, why you? Why have they come for you? Why have they traversed the universe for your sorry ass? Why you? You live in North Hollywood, you're 11 days sober, why? Why? Don't you think they'll call a cop, go to a post office, something? Plus, he's sleeping with the Bible on his chest to ward them off. So they're gonna traverse the galaxy, walk in his room and go, oh no, the Bible, let's go home. I'm at the North Hollywood group, me and Steve B's old home group, and I'm sharing this story probably a year after this, and the guy who was from the story walks in to the room, and I'm looking at him, you know, and I'm sharing the story, and I watch him go like this. Oh, shit. And I saw the horrible memory. He identified a little too much with this person. If you're new here, I want to welcome you to AA. I don't know what you're coming in with, but I know that once you put your dark past in God's hands, you will actually be able to help others avert death and misery. I want to urge you to go out there and take this thing as seriously as you possibly can and have the time of your life. If the aliens are coming for you, welcome to AA. Welcome home. I love you. Thanks so much.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. And if that shows up, the gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.